Hi, and welcome to Therapy Explained. My name is Denise Cantor. I'm the therapist of color for people of color and your very own personal mental health cheerleader. I post videos on all things mental health, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. I also post a cheat sheet that summarizes the points made in every video on Instagram, so to make sure that you can get yours, follow me on Instagram at Talk Therapy. That is TOC Therapy, because after all, I am the therapist of color. Today, we're going to be talking about how to make friends during a pandemic. Now, making friends as a grown-up is difficult enough, but add a pandemic to it and it can feel almost impossible. I want to share with you some of my tips today on how to develop new friendships so that in the long run, you can make sure that you have a strong, healthy, and safe support system, which is one of the basics for our mental health. It's important for us to feel a connection to the world outside of us, which again is difficult to do when we're not supposed to be going outside. So to get started, before we even put ourselves out there, let's check our mindset. When we start developing new friendships or start to get to know people, it's important for us to remember that not everyone that we meet will become our friend, and even then, they might not necessarily become our best friend. This doesn't mean that it's not worth putting ourselves out there. It's good and healthy for us to have a ton of different friendships with different levels of intimacy and different levels of connection and communication. This is because depending on what we need emotionally, we can reach out to those different kinds of friends. We might have our core group of friends that we tell everything to, and then perhaps our work friends that we vent about work with, and then our fun friends that we used to go to concerts with or watch movies with or have another interest in common with, like running. And then there might also be those acquaintances that we check in on once or twice a year. And that's okay. Especially these days when everybody is dealing with so many triggers, so much stress, so much anxiety, not everyone will have room for us when we need them. So depending on what you need, it could be useful to reach out to different types of friends. For example, if you're feeling stressed at work, this might be a good time to reach out to your work friends. You can vent with them about it and feel better without necessarily having to process too much intimate and personal stuff. But if that is what you're looking for, then you can reach out to your core group of friends, and if they have the room for it, you can vent with them. If perhaps you are struggling but not with work and don't really want to process deeply, you can reach out to your fun friends. Ask them if they want to join online and watch a movie or listen to some music together over the phone or again through FaceTime or Zoom. And then those friends that we check in on once or twice a year can also serve as a support to check in on again, maybe 3 to 4 times in a year, like the last year that we've had. So in summary, it's good. It's helpful for us to have different kinds of friends. So as we're out there developing new friendships, it's okay for us to not necessarily become so close to them immediately or at all, but that doesn't mean that they won't add to our lives. It's about figuring out what kind of friend this new person is going to be, and not so much whether or not they should be in our lives at all. Though that's also worth figuring out. So once we've got this mindset down of, okay, not everyone's going to be my friend, then we also want to put ourselves out there. And I mean that virtually. Thankfully, there are a lot of virtual spaces in which we can start to create and develop new relationships. You can join a club, an association, start volunteer work. There's a lot of groups based simply on just your tastes in music or movies or art or politics or any other topic that you enjoy. This is really useful for us because it will put you in a place where you already have something in common with a group of people. It's a good way to start a relationship and a new friendship because you can start a conversation in that topic and then figure out whether or not you have more things in common. More often than not, you do, because you already share this one thing in common. So it's a really good place to start. You can also look at the people that are already in your life and see if perhaps you're interested in developing a closer friendship with any of them. But if you're not, you can always go back to those virtual spaces. So it is helpful to think of developing new friends as kind of like dating. It's a bit of trial and error and trying to figure out who fits you, if you're looking for the same thing in a friendship, if you're the same kind of friend. So it is important for us to use our boundaries and our healthy and assertive communication skills to communicate the boundaries. What I mean by this is if you're the kind of friend who likes to text a lot, then perhaps this is something that you should talk about off the bat. Bonus tip, it's never too early to start setting boundaries. The more that we are open and honest about what our boundaries are, the better that our relationships will be, because we're clear and we're on the same page with the other person about what the expectations of the relationship are going to be. Whereas if we don't communicate, this is how we end up in relationships, whether platonic or romantic, that we're unhappy in. And that's because our needs are going unmet because we never said what they were. So identify for yourself, what are my expectations in this friendship? And this could be because I'm looking for something more intimate and closer with my friends, or maybe I'm not looking for something necessarily close with my friends. And it's important to express that. So going back to this example of being someone who likes to text a lot, if the other person seems to not be good at texting back or answering your calls, then you might want to express that to the other person and say, hey, when I text you and I don't hear back from you, I feel pretty anxious. Do you mind just texting me, letting me know that you got my message? If you are too busy, please let me know and I'll know to back off a little bit and give you some space. That way that person knows what your expectations are, which is communication and healthy boundaries. Then they get to decide, okay, I do have the room for this person, or you know what, I don't. And it's okay. You get to filter out people who are not for you and who don't fit you, and make room for people who do. So that's why boundaries at such an early stage is super important. And we want to use our assertive communication skills, because assertive communication skills are effective, they're respectful, they're open, and they're honest. I'm going to have a video on boundaries and communication styles, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. I will make an announcement on my Instagram once they are live, so that they can help you continue to develop healthy friendships as a grown-up. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about our mindset and our expectations and how to put ourselves out there, boundaries and communication skills. And as you're going through all of these, you might also notice that you're experiencing some anxiety. You might also be engaging in some anxious thoughts and cognitive distortions. And by cognitive distortions, I mean you're probably trying to tell the future or to read people's minds by saying things like, oh, this is not going to work, or if I put myself out there, this person's going to think I'm a loser or that I'm needy. But the truth is that you don't know that. You can't tell the future and you can't read people's minds. The best way to know what someone is thinking is to ask them. So before you tell yourself that this is not an option, give yourself the chance. Remember, you cannot tell the future and you cannot read people's minds. The best that you can do for yourself, what you owe yourself, is the opportunity to develop healthy friendships and relationships. So as you're noticing some of these anxious thoughts, call them out. Name them. Okay, this is an anxious thought. It is not helpful for me, and I also don't know that this is a fact, right? So identify them and remind yourself of what they are so that they don't have too much power over you. While thought challenging is very helpful, you might still be experiencing a sense of anxiety. And this is when your coping skills come in. You can redirect your attention to healthier and more enjoyable activities like listening to music, journaling, going for a run. You know the deal, we've talked about this. If you want more help in developing healthy coping skills, I will also link that for you below so that you can have access to that. But this is what your coping skills are for, to help you self-regulate when you're feeling dysregulated. So do the thought challenging, do the self-care. That will help you manage a lot of the anxiety that comes with putting yourself out there and developing new friendships. So before I let you go, let's review. As we're developing new friendships as a grown-up, we want to, 1, be mindful of our mindset. Set our expectations to know that not everyone will be a friend and not everyone will be a best friend. That has nothing to do with us, and it is good for us to have different kinds of friends. Number 2, a good place to start is the people that are already in your life, or by joining some sort of club, association, class, or volunteering virtually. 3rd, a good lesson for us is to start setting boundaries and communicating them with assertive communication skills. It's never too early to set boundaries. And then lastly, as you're going through all of these, you will feel some anxiety and have some anxious thoughts and cognitive distortions. To deal with them, remember, call them out. Name them for what they are. Normal and anxious thoughts, but not facts. And use your coping skills. This is why I'm pushing so hard for them, because they're so useful for you in so many different ways. So again, I'm going to prompt you for that video because it's important that you have an array of coping skills that work for you. If you give any of these tips a try, please make sure to comment below and let me know. And perhaps if you've already done some of these things or have your own activities and ways in which you've developed new friendships, comment below and let us know. It might be helpful for someone. Remember to subscribe and to like this video if you found it helpful or if you think someone else could find it helpful. And your cheat sheet for today's video is already up on Instagram, so make sure that you're following me there at Talk Therapy. And of course, above all, remember, I'm always cheering for you.